Hello friends, thank you for watching this video. I am Mohamad and today we will continue our weekend coding tips and tricks series where we will discover different features of C#, .NET, Entity Framework, and so on. We're gonna go through some examples and see how we can utilize them in our day-to-day coding. This is episode 2 of the series, and today we will cover top-level statement and static directives. First, we're gonna go through the ingredients that we need in order for us to follow along. So, we're gonna need two things. First, we're gonna need Visual Studio Code and the .NET 5 SDK. You can find the links here on the screen or in the description down below. As well, the installation is pretty straightforward. As always, you will find the source code in the description down below. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like this video. It will really help the channel. So, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we need to check if the .NET SDK has been installed successfully. In order for us to do that, we're going to be utilizing the .NET version command. So inside our terminal, we type .NET -- version, and we should see a number. And as we can see right now, we can see the version number 5.0.301, which is the latest version of the .NET SDK by the time of recording of this video. If you see any other number, that should be fine. If you see any error, you need to re-download the .NET SDK and try again. So once we have done that, now we need to create our console application, which we're going to be discovering all of these different features with it. So in order for us to create our console application, we're going to be utilizing the .NET new keyword. So .NET new, then we have to type console because it's a console app, and then we're going to be giving it a name. And since this is episode 2, we're going to call it tips and tricks. So we'll call it code tips and tricks episode 2, and let's click enter, and this should take a few seconds, and now we can see that our application has been created successfully. Now let's navigate to this project, and now let's open it in our code editor. Okay, perfect. Now we have our application open. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we need to open our terminal. So we need to go to view and click on terminal, and we're going to run the application to make sure that everything is running as it should be. So we're going to type .NET run, and we should see the hello world message coming up. Perfect. So this means that the application is building and running as it should be. So the next step we're going to be doing is we're going to first be going into the top level statement. So what are top level statement? They are a new language feature that got added in C#9. And the goal of them is to make it easier for beginners to jumpstart into C# application and C# development. So when we write top level statements, we don't really need all of the boilerplate code that usually comes when we create a console app. So as we can see here, we just created this console application, and we have roughly around 12 lines of code in order for us to just see the console.writeLine hello world. So we have using statement, we have namespace, we have class, and we have a main function, and then we have basically the one single output that we have. And all of this code has its right time and place, but for this example right now we don't really need it. So basically with top level code, with top level statement, we are able to minimize all of this code and have a much more compressed and much more easier to read application. So how do we convert this from this normal boilerplate code to a top level code? We'll start by deleting some stuff. So let's delete this, and let's delete the namespace, and then let's delete the class, and let's delete the class, and lastly let's delete this method, and let's delete this method. And now as you can see, we only have one single console.writeLine and the using statement. So the using statement, we cannot really remove it because basically we need to import all of the functionality and the libraries from the using. But here, as we can see, we only have the console.writeLine that we are going to utilize in order for us to output message to the screen. Great. So let's save this and let's run it again to see if it actually runs. So again, .NET run. And as we can see here, the application is also running as it should be. Great. So you might think to yourself, so why don't we need all of the other code? Well, we actually need them. But with top level code, the compiler we automatically recognize that this is a top level code. So right now, if we go here next to statement system and we hover, we can see that the compiler has automatically detected that this is a top level statement entry point, which means that it's gonna know that it's have to create all of the namespace, the classes, the entry method for it, because it's a top level statement. So that's why we don't have to write it, because the compiler here automatically detected that this is gonna be a top level statement. It's still gonna be created for us in the background, and we're not gonna be responsible for it for this time, but the compiler is gonna be responsible for it. So now let's take this a little step further. So let's first change from hello world to hello Mohamad. And then, for example, I want to introduce something which is a bit more complicated. So let's introduce async await. So with top level statement, we are also able to utilize the async await in it. And how do we add async await? So the first thing we need to do is we need to add the using statement. So using system.threading.task. So once we have added the task, because we're going to utilizing async await. So once we have added the using statement, now here let us add the await keyword. Basically we are waiting for something, and we're gonna just utilize task.delay, and we're gonna delay by 3 seconds. And after the delay has completed, what are we gonna do? We're just gonna output a different message on the screen, and we're gonna say it's breakfast time. And here we can just say it is breakfast time. Breakfast time. And right now we didn't do anything. Basically we just added the await task delay, and automatically our code is detected by the top level statement. The compiler knows that we have an await, so it automatically adds an async for it, and then basically we're just outputting a message. So let's run this and see how what happens. So .NET run, and we can see hello Mohamad, and then 3 seconds has passed, and then we can see it's breakfast time. Perfect. So now with top level code, we have covered how we can actually convert a normal console application to top level statement, and then we saw how we can add an async await, which is very simple. So the next step that we're gonna introduce are methods. And just to be clear, we're going through all of these different functionality with top level statement very quickly. If you want to delve more into them, I have a different video which I'm gonna link on the top right hand side and in the description down below. As well, we'll link the Microsoft documentation where you can explore it in more details. But for now, let us explore methods inside top level statement. So I want to create a new method, and this method basically it's gonna be static. And this method is going to be very simple, and all it's going to do is going to output a screen, and I'm going to give it a input. So we're going to be static string, for example, and we're going to call it, for example, print. So if we're going to print, we don't really need a string, so let's put a void print my name, for example. And we're gonna give it a string name, and basically here what are we gonna do? We're just gonna output console.writeLine, and we're gonna use string interpolation. And if you don't know what string interpolation is, you can refer back to episode 1 of Code Tips and Tricks, where we would jump deep into string interpolation. I will link it as well in the upper right hand side corner and in the description down below. So let's see here, we're gonna put a message, a very simple message. We're gonna say your name is, and then we're gonna open the curly braces, and we're gonna put the name, and then we're gonna call this method here. So we're gonna make it, instead of saying hello Mohamad, we're just gonna call this method, and we're gonna send it my name. So it's gonna be print my name, and I'm gonna give it my name, and then we're just gonna add a semicolon to that. And let's save this and let's run it. So .NET run, and we can see your name is Mohamad has automatically popped up. We waited 3 seconds, and then it says it's breakfast time. Perfect. So now we have covered 3 different aspects of how we can convert, async await, and how we can create methods. So you might think to yourself, why do we want to use top level statement? First of all, you can see this is a very simple code, so it simplifies a lot of the development process. It's very easy for us to create, and it's very quick. It's very simple to use, so basically we can actually utilize only the terminal. We don't really actually need a code editor. We can write a top level statement in the terminal, and we can actually run them from there. So the next point that we're going to be discussing is static directives. So the using static directives allows us to use static types inside our application without need to referencing the type name every time. So what does that mean? So let's take a look at the code that we currently have. We have console.writeLine, we have print my name function method, then we have the await for 3 seconds, then we have the console.writeLine, and then we have another method, we have the method with also another console.writeLine. So with static directive, we can actually utilize the word console, and we don't have to write it every single time. So instead of having it, for example, console.writeLine, we can just utilize the write line. If we're gonna take, for example, an input from the user, so we can also utilize the read line without identifying the console.writeLine. So basically it will allow us to imply the console type without actually having to declare it every time. So how we can accomplish that? It's very easy. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to go in the using statements, and we're going to type using using static system.console. And it's very, as you can see, it's very simple, but the magic lies here. Once we have added this, we can actually delete the console keyword from here, because it has already been declared here, because this is gonna be let's add this, let's add a command. This is a static directive. So basically static directives initialize the word console here, and it allows us to utilize them everywhere within our top level statement or anywhere within our normal code without actually need to add the word console every time we want to use it. So right now, once we have added this, the static directive, we are able to utilize the console.writeLine here and the write line here without actually utilizing the word console. Now let's run this and see if it actually works. .NET run. Your name is Mohamad. Wait 3 seconds and it's breakfast time. So now let's add a read line to make sure that basically any other methods for console other than write line works. So let's add after this here, it will be better here, and let's add write line. So we didn't actually write console, all we did is write line, and we're gonna ask the user to input their email. So please input your email, and then basically we're just gonna take the email from the user and we're gonna save it directly in this variable. So we're gonna put read line, and usually this is something like this. So this usually is console.readline, but because we're using static directive, we don't really need to add the word console. And all I'm gonna do right now is just input input the email out to the user. So it's gonna be write line, and we're gonna use string interpolation again, and we're gonna say your email is, and just we're gonna type out the email. Great, now let's see this in action. Now let's go back to our terminal and type .NET run. Your name is Mohamad. Wait 3 seconds, and then it says it's breakfast time, and then it asks us to input our emails. So now let's input our email. It's gonna, for example, put mohamad@email.com. And now once I click on enter, it shows me the message, your email is mohamad@email.com. Perfect. Thank you very much for watching. This is episode 2 of Code Tips and Tricks. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like this video. And if you have any other idea that you want me to cover, please write them down in the description, in the comments down below. Have a great day.